Hi, Ariana. So yes, soul contracts in the last video. If anybody's curious, just click on this. Soul contracts are for your soul, and when I went deep into that, because remember, this is what people called it, right? Like call it all the time in spirituality. I would call it more your bigger energy. So everyone is completely different of how the energy is split up, how this works. Some people don't have as much split up. Some are doing all kinds of different things. So this is why this topic is definitely a session topic or one of the private readings that are a part of my Patreon subscribers per month. They get like different things. Some get, depending on the tier, some get one voice note a month and it's going to be geared towards them, and then some get like a full-on video with everything. So like I said, this topic has so much depth and so much things having to go on with it, and I'd say it's more like, I wouldn't call them soul contracts. I'd say, how is your energy split up? What kind of things is your energy working on while you're being a human? And these kind of things can be all kinds of, a range of stuff. Some could be literally, because we're all of us, no matter what, it doesn't matter who you are, if how you're split up or whatever's going on, you are basically streaming that energy, whether you're conscious of it or not, and you're playing around with it like I help people do or not. It doesn't matter. You're going to do it no matter what. And so in the comments, I said, Ariana suggested to do like a special video for it. So I'm doing it. The interesting part for us and the takeaway is not to look at contrasts and things that you have to do and stuff like that. It's very human, and you don't. Like that's what like I'm here to help people with, is it's not as rigid as people think. Like for example, there's two things, when people say they're born, you can literally be born with stuff, as in like how much you hold. So you might hold more of something that humans understand because you are holding something, like, because that's the whole point of being on earth, is holding energy, right? So you might hold certain things, so you might be born with stuff, but that doesn't mean those other people that you come across, you can't teach that. This is the learning teaching dimension. You can teach others about your own thing. So if your energy, like my energy, for example, I can see every single time someone says something, it's all unveiled for me, and I can see everything from them all the way to their biggest energy. And so it's just someone like looks at me or talks to me, that's it, right? And so I was born with that. It's my energy. It's the space that my energy takes up or pulls in, right? And so that contract is not that. The contract is what that energy is being used for, and my energy is using for, kind of remotely, like a remote viewing, if that makes sense. It's like my energy is remote viewing through me. So like there has to be some kind of anchor. And the other thing is, I help people with this. It's one of the options. So this might be something you would want, Ariana, because you're at the second tier. I can do like, if you ask a question about remote viewing or something, that could be your what we were doing on the live, but we're doing it instead. So with remote viewing, that's what we do. What I help with is I show people an anchor. You have to have an anchor. So people that teach remote viewing and all those things, they make it very human, which is fine. But if you really want to see like all kinds of cool stuff, including what people think are past lives, but it's actually parallel, and any civilization, anything you want to see, you need an anchor. And I personally, like I said, I can do this with anything. It's not just humans, like how I can see all that stuff. I can do it with objects, I can do it with places, and that's how my energy is. It's the style of my energy. Now, getting back to this. So basically, when you have two things going on. You have the anchor thing, and as a human, you can't change that. Don't have a choice. You are the anchor. That is part of being human. So that's the only contract a human would have, is that you're anchoring the energy, and it's none of your business, or you can make it your business of what that energy is doing. And that's kind of what I help people with, is find out what that is, because a lot of the time I make a joke like, what if your energy that originally did this is like, remote viewing and doing these things, and sometimes you might be around something because your body needs to be next to it or whatever, but it's has to go align with who you are as well, so they would miss out on it. So there's things where they try and get you to do stuff and you're like, wait, I don't want that. And so this is one of the big reasons why I want people to know who their energy is, because it doesn't change anything for that energy, but it changes everything for you. You have to be conscious to be able to be like, the energy that I originally came with does not align with what my life has been like. And this is why I am against talking about contracts in general, unless we're going to reframe, right? Because that is what happens. People think they have to do these things. That's not true, because you are here. And that's why I gave that analogy in the last video of basically going on a trip or something like that. You are you on the ground floor, the thing that you've lived with. That's your creation. You have done this. So even if they're like, the energies are like, yeah, do this, and you're like, this doesn't align with me. Like the joke I said, what if they're like sparkly pink princess vibes, like how they feel, and you are like super gothic and you love going to graveyards and things like that? What, like, that's not the life that you want to live. And so they're going to keep making you feel like you might feel guilty being who you are. And so this is one of the most important things in my empowerment renaissance that I'm starting, is that you might need to understand your bigger energy that came to earth or decided and had those contracts. And that's basically what it is. So you have the right to not be a contact. And we're all contacts, by the way, of that bigger energy. So you're an anchor and a contact, and everything else you get involved in is your choice. So the contact is, they literally will push you so that like for example, my energy is, like I said, it unveils. So as a human, not just how I see it, but my body, if I bring my body to a place that needs some unveiling, justice, all kinds of stuff, there's all the different spectrums of what that kind of unveiling does. Seeing like the bigger picture, all that poof, like the big, stuff, right? Sometimes that's needed. And so my energies will get in contact with other energies to contact me, like aka and angels a lot of the time. Not just angels, but that's a good example. And they will be like, okay, you want to go here, you want to go here. In the beginning, when I was sensitive, like when I was getting sensitive in the sense that I always have been, but I was like paying attention, because that's what I say. I'm like, don't ignore your soul or whatever, but that you need to not ignore it, not because you have to do the things they're saying. You need to know what they're saying, because it will be unconscious. So when they did this stuff and they were full blast, they were coming to me, and it's like, and I asked them this question. I always tell people this. I asked them, I said, okay, if I don't do this, because I was in a like bar situation, if I don't do this right now, what will happen? Because I'm having a good time being wild and stuff. What will happen? And they showed me that instead of it just being me walking in the room and talking to this person for 2 seconds, like to hold that energy there, basically they would just have to do it like multiple times with different people. So I found out that those angels especially, they're doing efficient things. So they're finding the most efficient energy. So it doesn't mean that my energy is the only energy that can do that, because that's what people get weird about that in spirituality. They're like, oh my God, I'm the best, even if mine's so big and like specialized in that and probably created that energy or whatever, it doesn't mean that there aren't other energies that have this in them too, like humans. That's why we're all here doing this, right? So this is why I say it, and it has to do with Earth, because that's the whole point. It's the splitting up. And so people saying these soul contracts, stuff like that, they're so, sorry, my battery's low, so it stopped. They're so confused because, okay, they're like, okay, talking about soul, and they're like, haven't even asked themselves what a soul is. They haven't asked, like, are we on Earth? So the question that you asked, Ariana, is like, that's what we need to be asking when someone talks about this, including the people who talk about it. They need to be like, okay, well, what is a soul? What is a contract? Why would we talk about contracts, or why would they have contracts when they're so infinite? And humans like made contracts because it's a finite system, right? So if you think about it, it's symbolism. So it is a contract of symbolism. So what are they up to? I'd say it's more like when you're starting a company or a hypothesis, or we're planning a trip. I would not say it's a true contract. I hope this helped. And as usual, if there's any other questions you have, just let me know.